Hey cousins, happy Tuesday to everyone besides the insufferable wench who played Snow White in the new Disney live action. Oh yes, we have a spicy show today because I want to finally speak more in depth about the injustices against Justin Bieber that people are finally acknowledging, although it is long overdue. Also, we need to debrief the discovery in Egypt. The news broke last week about the insane structure underneath the pyramids, and it has been in my head rent-free ever since. And I need to know what you guys think. Later on, we will celebrate the downfall of woke media since the new Snow White movie did in fact tank. And I want to play-by-play break down the insanity of this viral morning routine that has over 800 million views on Twitter alone. Y'all know the vibes. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Welcome to Respectfully. Notice how the lights are on? Notice how I'm here to educate the people? I couldn't do that without PragerU. And it is still our triple match month here at Prager University, which means if you want to make a tax-deductible donation to PragerU, you can go ahead and click the link in our description and send in your donation today. And what triple match means, if you send us $1, we will make your donation worth $3. Oh yes, we are educating the people, so be sure to help us continue in our mission and reach millions of people around the world. Now, that being said, let's start with my favorite pop star of the century? One of my favorite pop stars of the century, male-wise at least, Justin Bieber. Y'all know the icon Justin Bieber. He, I would dare to say, is the last great male pop superstar that we will probably see for some time. I don't see realistically any of the modern up-and-coming male pop stars reaching the level of just pure stardom that Bieber mania had. If you guys remember when he first came onto the scene as a teenager, it was something that I don't think we had seen from a teen pop star since I think he was even bigger than objectively he was bigger than Justin Timberlake, I want to say. But Britney Spears, maybe the last time we had someone getting chased down the street and just absolute chaos anytime they went somewhere as a pop star. Well, Justin Bieber, his story started, I believe he was 12 years old. Shout out to CJ Pearson, same energy. 12 years old when he went viral on YouTube and ended up launching into this massive viral career that needs no further introduction. But something that's very unfortunate that not enough people talk about is just the horrible things that Justin Bieber endured during his youth and throughout his early career that a lot of people tended to write off as a joke. I feel like when there are men being groomed a lot of the times, I feel like people pay more attention to it now. But way back when, I feel like he was going through a lot of exploitation and a lot of abuse in the media that people really just seem to overlook that is now starting to get a lot of attention in retrospect, especially with Justin becoming more outspoken about his mental health issues and some of the trauma that he's been through and wanting to protect stars like Billie Eilish and being very clear about how he wants to take some of these teen pop stars under his wing. And Justin Bieber, he's getting ready for a comeback. He's about to put out a new album sometime this year, hoping it comes out before summer. But one thing that really stuck out to me were these cryptic images he posted on his Instagram a few days ago that I have not stopped thinking about. So it was a slideshow. First, it was just a picture of him like in the snow, but then it was this next photo. It was a picture of him as a little boy, and it has the caption, "I got anger issues too, but I want to grow and not see so much." And I saw this and I'm like, okay, so he's definitely reflecting on his own youth. But then the next slide literally took my breath away. You see here these cargo shipping containers. And you see, if you squint and you look closely, there is a young baby looking up at these cargo containers. Now, some could say that I'm overthinking this, but I feel pretty confident in the fact that, especially with this baby here, sitting here looking at these cargo containers and with the caption that he has about his anger issues and wanting to grow and not react so much and not to, allow his emotions to take the best of him anymore, I really think that this is a sign of things that he has either been through or things that he knows about or has seen. So I kept asking myself, what could this mean? Now, if you guys are familiar with these shipping containers, one thing that they are notoriously connected to is human trafficking, especially child trafficking. And with that being one of the biggest issues that really, it's been a huge issue for decades now, if not centuries, but a lot more people are paying attention to it because of the Diddy era, because of the Epstein era, and all these things that are coming to light. And Justin Bieber is someone that I feel like would be a very key person to speak on all of this, because there's no way that this man hasn't seen profound levels of evil. And I feel like this is a subliminal of him letting us know, yes, it is in the shipping containers, in these cargo containers, where a lot of this major human trafficking is happening. And I really can't be convinced otherwise of that. And speaking of shipping containers, someone that allegedly lives very, very close to a shipping cargo yard is none other than P. Diddy. And, you know, if you don't know Justin Bieber's early career, he was very much under the wing of Usher, R&B singer Usher, who... I've heard some rumors, I'll just put it that way, that he is very allegedly involved with some of the Diddy Mania allegations. And he definitely is the person that introduced Justin Bieber to P. Diddy when he was a young teenager. And every single interaction that I see P. Diddy and Justin Bieber having, it looks very uncomfortable. It's very nerve-wracking, very eerie. I actually found this video of when Justin Bieber was 15, and just pay attention to the body language and the tone of voice and everything in this short clip.
Everything's good? Selling out arenas and everything? Starting to act different, huh?
No,
you ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, you know, through all my, partners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you never really got my number, so.
Correct. Okay.
My number?
Yeah, lock him in jail and throw away the key. Throw away the key immediately. Oh, yes. Diddy, I'm so happy you're in prison, and I hope you remain there. And, you know, this is one of those things, if you really just analyze what's happening here, why is Diddy, this grown, crotchety, dry, dehydrated old man, sitting here harassing this young teenage boy about, why haven't you been calling me? Why you been acting different? Why is he talking to Justin Bieber like Justin Bieber is one of his old side pieces? Unless... allegedly. What's going on here? What's going on here? Diddy is talking to Justin Bieber like that's his old baby mama or someone he wants to make a baby mama. He's talking to Justin Bieber like Justin Bieber owes him something. Like there's some kind of amorous tension there that's clearly one-sided, because Bieber is clearly uncomfortable and wanting to say a lot more than he's saying in this moment. And this is just awkward. But it's deeper than awkward. There's something sinister about it, especially with the more we learn about P. Diddy and just how he utilizes power dynamics. There's something very, very off-putting about this grown, dehydrated man harassing this young boy about, why don't you call me much anymore? And Justin very clearly not wanting to give his personal cell phone number over to P. Diddy, because who knows what those phone calls would be about. And I'm pretty sure there's other videos out there of their interactions, and every interaction just gets more and more discomforting to watch. And, you know, Diddy wasn't the only one. You know, male and female wise, Justin Bieber dealt with a lot of sexual harassment as a young teenage boy that, again, nobody really paid attention to because he was a male. Not to sound like the opposite of a feminist, but if we're going to be so for real, a lot of the times when men endure this kind of sexual harassment, it tends to get overlooked. And in this case, this is a young boy who has been dealing with literally, like, I don't want to say the word, pedophilia. This pedophilia, let's just put it that way so my video doesn't get flagged. Let's look at this clip here. A compilation of so many of these incidences. There's so many out there. Grown woman kissing all on his neck, straight to jail.
Wow! I feel violated right now.
And he communicated that he felt violated, no
Lean
help.
into me again. You smell amazing. How old are you?
Ew.
Thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 16. I'll be 17 in like 2 weeks.
I don't ever remember smelling that good at 16.
I've heard a lot of
Like,
allegations about James
bad.
Corden being a terrible
Wow,
person
look
too.
at your eyes. What music are you listening to?
Why are you staring at this little... why are you touching his face?
We have to be naked on stage during one full song, or drink a cup of blended worms. Answer Justin Bieber.
I have like little girl fans. I can't go.
My parents never gave me the sex talk. Okay. So why don't you give me the sex talk?
I feel uncomfortable right now.
Oh.
Why do you want to know the sex talk from a 15-year-old boy? That's pretty weird.
Wake that up.
Let's talk about the
Why do you want that talk with a 15-year-old boy? And this is something that's been going on in Justin Bieber's world for so long. And not saying that just like there is obviously a connection between, you know, the human trafficking of it all versus a lot of this grooming that you see in Hollywood. And Justin Bieber is someone that I feel very confident in assuming that he has seen a very deep element of both. And I really hope as he becomes more comfortable speaking his mind, as he feels safer, as he grows more, as more of this darkness comes to light, and the more transparent he becomes, I hope he continues to reveal to the world just some of the true darkness that's behind the scenes in Hollywood. I've never met Bieber, never met the Biebers, but I've met a lot of close mutuals to him. I'll put it that way. And every single one of them says that he has a story to tell, but I don't have much more detail beyond that. That is just a story I really pray that he brings to light. And I hope he is in a state of mind where he is okay to do that for his own well-being. And I really think it's time that we start just having no nonsense when it comes to this PDF-philia. It's getting out of control. I mean, it's been out of control, but I really want to see people standing on business. And that being said, free Cain Velasquez. Okay, do you guys know Cain Velasquez? Or did you follow this story back in 2022 where this former UFC champion, Cain Velasquez, he avenged his son and ended up being put into prison because of it? Oh, yes. So Cain Velasquez, former UFC champion, shot at this man named Harry Gualarte, if that's how you say his name, back in February 2022. And that was allegedly because Harry sexually abused Velasquez's 4-year-old son more than 100 times at the daycare that Harry's mother owned. Okay, this is why I tell a lot of parents too, you need to be a lot more attentive of these safe spaces that you drop your kid off at. A lot of these safe spaces, I don't care if it's a church retreat. I don't care if it's an after school program. And I really don't care if it's a sporting event. If your child is there, you need to have active conversations with your child about what needs to be reported to their parents and what, you know what I'm saying. Those conversations of what to beware from adults needs to start happening with these young kids very early, because in a lot of these safe spaces, like a daycare, you never know who is watching your children. You might think you know, but you really need to figure it out before you allow your kid to be here. Because 100 times to a 4-year-old, that is a level of evil and disgust that I just cannot even fathom. But I have so much respect for Cain because he did what he had to do. When Harry, the guy who molested his child allegedly, got out of jail on bail, this is what Cain did.
MMA legend Cain Velasquez chasing after the man he allegedly shot. You can see the black SUV chasing that truck. Inside the truck was a man accused of molesting a family member of Velasquez.
This is exclusive video captured on a cell phone camera showing what appears to be Velasquez chasing after the vehicle, which seems to show bullet holes and dents on it. According to court documents, Velasquez rammed the vehicle with his own truck, then while driving, fired a gun aiming at this man, Harry Gualarte, who was out on bail after being charged with molesting a young child at a San Martin daycare center. The documents confirm the child is a, quote, allegedly, close relative of Velasquez.
Now, there's a lot of credible evidence out there if you look into the case of why this allegation has been made towards Harry, this man who allegedly molested Cain's son. But Cain did exactly what he needed to do. And the fact that he is in prison right now, or jail, whichever one it is, it makes me very sad, because the only crime that he did is that he wasn't able to finish the job. And I think that he deserves that opportunity to finish the job. Because if you... Shout out to Representative Anna Paulina Luna. She said something that has stuck with me. You cannot rehabilitate a PDF file. You cannot do that. Okay? If they are out here touching little kids, especially as young as 4 years old, there's no bouncing back from that. Sometimes you just gotta call on your God and your Glock. That's all I gotta say about that. You really do. So shout out to Cain. He just got sentenced to 5 years in prison. And I really, really hope that there's some way that can be overturned, especially with Harry's trial still pending. He is pleading not guilty, but I do feel like justice is going to be served in this situation. And justice being served includes freeing Cain and for more people to stand on business against this network of disgusting human traffickers and PDF files and all the vile things that are happening in our society. Now let's move on along to something a little bit more upbeat. Let's move on to something upbeat because this is crazy. Okay, let's talk about what is happening in Egypt. I need to know if y'all have been following this story because I don't think that y'all are making a big enough deal about this. I don't think people are freaking out enough about this for me. Okay, because first of all, when it comes to these Giza pyramids, it never made sense to me. Let me just make that very clear. It never made sense because you can't convince me that considering that now in 2025, we can't even keep a plane in the sky, but these indentured servants were able to build these pyramids with so much precision and accuracy and sustainability. I just don't believe it. I just don't believe it. And you know, I just feel like there was something else that had to have been at play here. You know, I know it's one of the great wonders of the world, but I'm wondering because before I even get into this new truly insane discovery, I just want to walk you through some of the things that never made sense to me about these pyramids. Because first of all, they have a lot of the pyramids are made of limestone, which came from like the local quarries. But the granite, particularly for Khufu, the big pyramid in the middle of the big three, Khufu, that was hauled from Aswan over 500 miles south. And mind you, at the time that this happened, which was like 2500 BC, moving 50 tons of blocks with manpower and basic sleds, that just does not seem feasible. Okay, because even if you had 20,000 workers working on that 24/7, there's no way that they would get this done in 20 years like they allege. It just doesn't make sense to me. And you think of all the different things that Egypt has kept record of and that there's hieroglyphics of and all these different things. Why don't we have any blueprints or explanations of the pyramids? Okay, they have receipts of so many things that we have been able to find, but there's really nothing out there explaining how these pyramids came to be. And then you think of just like the precision and the alignment of these pyramids. You have the Great Pyramids that align with true north to 3/60th of a degree. That is precision that even modern engineers are struggling to replicate, and we have such advanced tools. So you're telling me back in the Bronze Age of building that they were able to do this without even having a compass? Okay, these people didn't have a compass. You're telling me the stars told them how to do this so accurately? First of all, the earth is spinning. The earth is spinning, child. So if we are spinning, how are you like having this much precision trying to find where the true north is, if that's even a factor? I don't even know how it works. And I live in 2025. These people lived in 2500 BC, and you expect me to just believe that they were able to figure this out that well. Okay, and then you think of just how many blocks and how these blocks there were 2.3 million blocks in Khufu's pyramid alone. And I'll explain why I'm very much fixating on Khufu's pyramid, because all of them I have questions about. But that's 2.5 tons each for these 2.3 million blocks. And that was built in roughly 20 to 30 years, allegedly. So that would mean that is one block placed every 2 to 3 minutes for 24/7. Logistically, I just don't see that happening. With those little copper tools that they had and pulleys, you think that they got that done with pulleys? No. Okay, maybe it's just because I live in an era where nobody wants to work these days, but I just don't see that being feasible. With the tools that they had, their tools were too soft to really get through that granite to such precise shape that you can't even slide a razor blade through it. Like, I just do not understand how this could possibly work. And some of the slabs on top of the king's chamber weigh 70 tons alone. Okay? And they're 140 meters high. So what crane did they have? What ropes did they have that were strong enough to make that happen? It's just not making sense to me. It's just not adding up. Okay. And then there's all these different coincidences of how the pyramid's dimensions, if you do all this math, it either aligns with pi, or there's this reoccurring theme of 444 and pi, if you don't know, that's child, you got to go do a math class. That's a class for another day. But having these dimensions that align directly with pi and with Earth's circumference and all these different things, when you scale it, it's just blowing my mind. And the purpose of these pyramids has always been debated, because a lot of people just assume it's mummies and treasures, but where is that at? Where are the mummies? Because in these great pyramids, I don't believe that they've ever found mummies there. Now, there's a good chance that it was stolen, but there were some other things found there, so that doesn't really make sense. And it's just not making sense that it could only be about burials. I just don't think that pyramids are made for the sole purpose of burials, like what I remember being told back in school. Now, let's get into what the new discovery is and why is Xavier rambling about these pyramids that I think that y'all aren't freaking out enough about. Okay, so there's this long-standing meme of the pyramids where it's kind of like, imagine the Washington Monument in the ground, where I've seen this meme for years, where basically they're saying that the top of the pyramid is literally just the top, and that there's this deep structure that goes way down into the dirt, into the Earth's core. But turns out there might be a little bit of tea to it. There might be a little bit of tea. And again, I do not know why you guys are not freaking out enough. So what happened is there is this technology that they've had for some years. And this story initially started making a little bit of noise, I want to say back in 2021 or 22. But nobody really took it seriously until they got the machinery really up and running with this technology called synthetic aperture radar, SAR. Let's just call it SAR. It's a non-invasive tool where they are able to essentially have sound waves to see what structures are underneath the Earth's crust or whatever, or underneath the soil or underneath the ground. And they use the SAR device underneath the Khufu pyramid to see what was underneath and to make a 3D model of what they believe that they're seeing. Now, granted, this study still needs to be peer reviewed. This is something that still needs to have, more sources to come in to truly make this a credible story. But I'm believing everything I'm seeing thus far. Even though the researcher, name one genius that isn't crazy, but Corrado Malanga, he's this chemist that is known for some more fringe ideas. He's been linked to a lot of UFO research, which I see him there. I'm not gonna lie. You can't convince me that we don't have extraterrestrials out there. And then Filippo Biondi, he is a radar expert, and they teamed up starting in 2021 to start scanning Giza for what is underneath the ground. We want to know, because you for sure can't dig up in Egypt. You can't start digging to see what's down there. So they ended up putting out this paper of what they ended up discovering. And of course, a lot of the Egyptologists or something like that, they have their own term for when they're archaeologists in Egypt and specialize in Egypt. A lot of them are beefing with this newfound information, because I just think that they don't want to end up looking discredited because they didn't know what was truly under there. But with this radar, with the sound waves that they were able to analyze, they have found that there are these massive cylinders underneath the pyramids. So first of all, you have like these chambers in between the cylinders and like ground zero of the pyramid that are very identical to the neighboring pyramid and the king's chambers. So you have these 5 chambers where who knows what's in it. But then underneath, you have these massive cylinder structures that have spiraling. They don't really know what's around it. They don't know if it's like stairs or if it's like an irrigation system, but there seems to be something that is spiraling around it, and it is going so deep into the ground. So deep. In fact, guess how deep that is going, child? Guess how deep? 648 meters deep. So you're telling me underneath these massive pyramids that are about 146 meters high, that there are 648 meter deep cylinder structures, 8 of them directly underneath the Khufu pyramid. And then they go down into this cubic structure that is 80 by 80 meters wide. And those are also identical. And then underneath that, it's this massive 2-kilometer labyrinth that's just lying underneath the pyramids and connecting them all together. So again, you have your big old pyramid here. Then you got these big old cylinders that go 648 meters deep. And then underneath, you can see here where it's like light colored. That is like a connected structure that is underneath the pyramid here. Y'all following me here? How insane that is for that to be that deep. For what is this whole little secret society that is underneath the pyramids? That doesn't even make sense. I wasn't even buying that they built these pyramids alone. And now you're telling me that there's this insane structure that's underneath there, allegedly? Mind you, I don't think y'all even understand how big 648 meters is because, we're the only country that refuses to use the metric system, which would never fully make sense to me because America's just always making things complicated. But just to give you guys perspective, the North Tower of the Twin Towers was 417 meters high. And these cylinders apparently are going 648 meters deep into the ground before getting into these big 80-meter structures. And that is before it goes into the 2-kilometer long structure that's underneath that. Still not gagged enough? The World Trade Center, the tallest building in the United States, one of the tallest buildings in the world, that is 541 meters high. And these structures underneath the Great Pyramids in Israel, or not Israel, the Great Pyramids in Egypt are actually deeper than that? Oh, y'all aren't freaking out enough for me. Y'all are not freaking out enough for me. Maybe I'm just a nerd. Maybe y'all are going to be like, Xavier, this is the worst episode ever. Nobody cares about these pyramids. But I care. And I need y'all to care because this is crazy. And what is that spiraling pathway that is coiling around the cylinders? Okay, I want to know. I have a lot of questions. Okay, you have these big uniform tombs. This is like another drawn out visual of what it could potentially look like. This is insane to me. This is so insane. And these tubes are each about 10 to 20 meters wide. So what is inside the tube? Like, what is inside of these cylinders? What is underneath all of this? This just is not making sense. And what is it made out of that is sustainable enough to have survived all these years? Y'all aren't freaking out enough for me, okay? And then the amount of just geometric and astronomical coincidences of these different pyramids also has me gagged. Because if you really look into it and just like the precision of these and their precision and depth just align with their stellar obsession with like Orion's belt, and you look at the proportions again, if you start dividing these 648 meter drops by the height of these different peaks and everything, it also ends up coming out to pi. Like, it's just, there's too many things going on for it to be a coincidence. And one thing that a lot of people don't know is that Egypt isn't the only place with pyramids. They're just the most iconic pyramids. There are pyramids that are geometrically aligned all over the world. I'm pretty sure there's even one here in America. Someone told me Ohio, but I know for a fact there's some in Mexico. You have the Pyramid of the Sun in Mexico, and it fits the Giza proportions to a T. And it has tunnels in it that hints towards uncharted depths. So we have no idea what's underneath this pyramid that's all the way over in Mexico. You also have the Great Pyramid of Cholula that has hidden layers that align again with Giza's cardinal points. It has a church up on top that mimics the Khafra Pyramid's Sphinx-like perch. So very similar energy here, and also extremely old and ancient. And these are obviously two completely different sides of the world. And don't even try to bring up Pangea, however you say it. Don't even bring that up, because that would take, because I believe in that, but that would take way longer than 5,000 years for the tectonic plates to move that much to explain why these nearly identical pyramids are just all over the world in a time that they weren't able to communicate with each other. And then you have, I'm going to say this all wrong. Y'all know I'm always pronouncing things wrong. I do not care. Maoling's, it's like Maoling's mausoleum, the pyramid.
Yep, that's it exactly.
Y'all know I'm tired. I am on 2 hours of sleep, but we are cooking today. That pyramid, this one also aligns with the constellations. Okay, this is all crazy. And one more, you have the Pyramid of the Sun over in Bosnia. All of these have just extremely eerie similarities built around similar times with people that could not at all communicate with each other. Y'all aren't freaking out enough for me. You really aren't. And there's all kind of conspiracies. I don't want to really say what I think, because y'all are going to tell me I'm crazy. And I can only deal with so many crazy allegations a day. But Mr. Rodriguez, what do you think? Am I tripping? Am I overhyping these pyramids? Or are people not freaking out enough?
No, I think it's really interesting to see this report come out. Now, I know this originally broke in 2022, but now that we got some more information to see what they actually saw and how they were able to read these vibrations, I do believe there might be some creative liberties taken when we see that radar, and then we see the illustration that comes from that radar, or exactly what it is, the SAR. However, I do believe that the Egyptians were known for really interesting stuff in the ancient world. I mean, it was normal for it to be considered, if you were from Egypt, oh yeah, you must know some weird stuff or some magic per se. Now, I'm not going to confirm whether that's true or not because I don't have that information. But what I will say, encourage everyone to do is open the biblical account in Genesis and read about the Tower of Babel. When you read the Tower of Babel, you understand, just look into the structure, look how it's built, look how mankind was all united for one purpose and one goal. And look what happened when they basically offended God, and he confused their languages and spread the people throughout. Well, actually, they spread themselves because they couldn't understand each other. Their languages were confused by God because he was putting an end to that. And so once they spread, you see all these pyramid-like structures that are popping up all around. They're similar. They're not exactly the same, but it just begs the question, wow, I wonder if, going back to that biblical account, if that has any connection here, as we see these are popping up all around. And when these structures were constructed, we understand that there could have been similar time frames. And so it's very interesting. But for this particular subject, I do believe that knowing that the structures go all the way down to bedrock, it seems as if it's a structure almost trying to tap in or connect to some type of energy source. And I know there's not much information to back that up whatsoever, but if I'm just going my opinion, that's what it's looking like they were thinking that they were tapping into something to that degree, or it had some significance to do with the wild belief systems that they held. Maybe there was a spiritual element to this where they were attempting to connect with some beings of some sort. The fact of the matter is, yeah, I mean, it's very interesting and intriguing. The Egyptians were up to some stuff.
But how did they do it? Like, I could believe that they were trying to tap into that, but how did they do a 648 meter deep structure? We can barely do that today.
You know, there are wild theories as to how they move these structures around. I'm not going to get too much into them. You guys are probably already looking into them with sounds and vibrations and the manipulation of molecules with hitting certain frequencies. That stuff is wild. I don't know how much I can get behind that. But again, how did they move those heavy objects to where they were? How did they perfectly line up these pyramids the way that they did?
Aliens.
I mean, look, many ancient civilizations have stories of star people coming down and giving them information of sorts to help excel their current standings and giving them information to enable them to have some technology they didn't have prior. I just think the similarities of all these stories are extremely interesting, and I think they're worth looking into just to see, okay, maybe that can help us get to the bottom of what actually happened. But who knows? I think the theories are out there. Mine, I mean, you know, we don't want to get into that, what I believe, because I think as a Christian, you know, I hold to the Bible. I believe the Tower of Babel actually happened. I believe that God certainly did confuse the language of mankind. I do believe that people spread out from that and they were trying to replicate something. Like, it was in their DNA to keep on doing that, whether it was to communicate with other beings, which I believe would be demons. But that is just my opinion. But the fact of the matter is, these things are popping up. How do they construct this? That's what I want to know too. So it's just a head scratcher, and I'm extremely interested to know, okay, are we going to get down there? Are we going to get updated information? But just one point, when you brought up the guy who was a part of it, Corrado Malenga, and seeing the books and everything he's into, I mean, yeah, like you were saying, every genius is into some weird things, but of course that makes us be like, okay, we have to be cautious with whatever we're going into in the arena of looking at the information presented. But I want to know what's going to be the follow-up. What's going to come about?
Well, they're getting in the way of the follow-up because I'm very hesitant of any group that is refusing to let the archaeologists do their job and to dig in to see what the truth is. Because that's like over in Israel, they won't let let's just say, call a spade spade to spade. The Muslim community will not allow the Jews and the Christians over in Israel to do any kind of archaeology, because the more they dig, especially in the city of David, the more Jewish and Christian artifacts that they find. So I'm very curious, what are these people in Egypt, like these Egyptologists, why are they so against allowing any kind of digging to be in the area? Now, I can understand logistically it's going to be very difficult to dig in this particular situation, because you don't want the pyramids to collapse, obviously. That would be a global headline from hell if they started digging underneath to excavate and they ruined the whole pyramid. But there has to be some kind of way. I mean, if the Egyptians could figure it out 5,000 years ago how to dig down there, we can figure out a way to dig next to them.
Come on.
That's how I'm looking at it. But, you know, let's keep it moving, because y'all are going to think I'm crazy, but I don't think that y'all are stressed out enough about these pyramids as I am, because I want the answers of what we've been lied about and what is being held against us. Okay? Everything in the dark comes to the light. That's all I got to say. Moving on to our goofy of the day. Snow White. So, Snow White, you know her. The good old Disney princess Snow White from 1937. So basically the synopsis of this story, to my understanding, because I am a grown man and Snow White is not something I particularly pay attention to, but I believe it's essentially a jealous old wench poisoned Snow White because she was a baddie. And now this baddie, Snow White, has 7 midgets who are trying to get some man to violate her low key in her sleep. But somehow that's going to wake her up and make her, you know, happy and healthy again and like free her from some kind of spell. So Snow White is a messy story, but, you know, I'm here for it. I'm here for the plot. And with these, you know, I just knew that this movie was going to be a mess the second I started hearing about it, because I'm not a fan of live actions. The only live action that I thought was really, really good was the Scooby-Doo live actions from my childhood. If you know, you know. Scooby-Doo 2 Unleashed, classic. I would watch that to this day. But this Snow White movie, it's like, again, I'm not their target audience, but it's tanking even with their target audience, which we already knew was going to happen the second they started talking about how they weren't going to cast real dwarves because they thought that it was dehumanizing. They thought it was dehumanizing. Please, this is iconic. This is representation. This is the DEI that you need. This is diverse, equitable, and including. You're including the little people. And I don't mean that in a great degrading way. No shade. Shout out to the little people. Shout out to the dwarves, or whichever dwarfism, which I don't know. I don't know which term offends people and what doesn't these days, but y'all know me. I ain't trying to be rude. I'm just keeping a spade. No shade. So shout out to the little people. They want these roles. The little people want these roles. The midgets, they deserve to be able to act too. Okay? Shout out to Little Women of Atlanta. Miss Juicy is one of my favorite reality stars. So shout out to representation of the little folk. But they just had 7 roles that they could have been all auditioning and fighting for and getting their bag up. They had that snatched away in the name of social justice. So this is, again, one of those situations where activists are hurting the people that they're claiming that they're helping. There were so many dwarves. There were so many dwarves who came out and spoke out about the fact that you are taking an opportunity away from us to put food on our table, because they are fighting for these roles in mainstream Hollywood to be able to play a dwarf. And I would assume, again, no shade, I would just assume that if you are a dwarf and you are an actor, one of your dream roles would be to be one of the dwarves of Snow White. Does that not make sense? It makes sense to me. Shout out to the little people. But they ended up having their back stopped because they wanted to make this movie woke. So this latest live action remake is starring Rachel Zegler. She is half Latina. And you know what? The reviews are actually saying that Rachel Zegler, she looks a mess. I understand that Snow White had this bob, but they didn't have to make her bob that tired. I am a bob enthusiast. Kind of looks like that dude from Shrek. Who is that short dude?
Lord
from Shrek?
Farquaad.
Yeah, she looks like a Farquaad. Why do they have Snow White looking like Farquaad? This is concerning. Stiff Bob ain't going nowhere. But you know what? They said, the critics were saying that Rachel Zegler had a great performance. So shout out to her for her great performance. But her performance was of an insufferable, self-righteous, liberal, feminist hag. And I feel like that's pretty problematic. because she didn't have to be. Snow White could have been a chill baddie who was sleeping until it was her time to be a what? It could have been her just chilling and vibing. But instead, she's an insufferable, feminist. And we didn't ask for that. Nobody wanted that. But, it already just didn't make sense when they cast her because Snow White is a white woman. Snow White is known for having skin as white as snow. So why is this Latina playing a white woman? Shout out to white women. White women deserve their roles too. They could have went and got a pale girly. Where are the pale girlies at? Okay? So, and this goes back to, we were talking recently about Snape being black from Harry Potter. And it's, again, this is one of those situations where I was talking about before, where are you just trying to add representation, or are you just trying to, add in some forced DEI type of situation? Because it does not make sense for Snow White to not be a white woman when her whole persona is being white with skin the color of snow. And aren't they German? Aren't the midgets German? Aren't the dwarves German? So shouldn't the dwarves be all white too? Or I mean, not that all Germans are white. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. I ain't got time to be politically correct. This is respectfully, baby. You better tune in and get caught up.
Just to give you a little bit of information, so I just did a quick Google search, and it was saying that the correct term, politically correct term, would be little person, or person of short stature.
Oh, so everything I said was a slur? Ooh, now me thinking I'm using the proper terms, and I'm out here dragging these people. My bad. It was no shade. But I meant it. Y'all, it's dwarfism, okay? It's dwarfism. That's like me being offended when someone says black versus African American or colored or whatever. I don't care. I do not care. And, shout out to the little people. Y'all are bigger than being concerned about what I refer to you as. So I wasn't trying to be offensive. I was just saying. So shout out to the little people who should have had that role. That's the moral of the story here. And thank you for that education, Mr. Rodriguez. I will learn something from this. And, next time I'm talking about midgets, I will be sure to not call them dwarves. I will call them little people.
Well, the medical term you're using is correct. Dwarfism is a medical term, as it's reading here. So,
well, so is retarded, but I get y'all yelling at me when I say that. Oh, not me getting demonetized. So, child, I can't even deal with these medical terms at this point anymore. But anyway, back to this ratchet mess of a movie. So Snow White never made sense in the first place. And then it was just a medley of bad PR. It was some of the worst PR I think I've ever seen, where it was just terrible take after terrible take coming from these people that we never asked for them to speak on their politics. Let's look at this compilation of Rachel Zegler and her unwarranted takes.
I'm a narcissist.
Period.
Original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay.
There is a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part. That people will assume is a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is not going to be saved by the prince. She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
I can't. That just like literally made me want to projectile vomit. It's like I feel like these people don't hear themselves and just how insufferable they are. And it's a shame because she's so pretty and so talented and seems like she has so much to offer in her young career. She's only 23 years old. It's like, why are you becoming this insufferable feminist? We don't want that from you. We just want you to do your job really well. That's all we really ask for. If you want to talk about politics, be a political commentator. Come be a guest at PragerU. I mean, come on now. It's like you have ruined the PR for this movie before the movie could even come out. She even a few years ago was making statements saying that she said May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace. It's like, girl, I hope you never know a bag. I hope you continue to see your career in the Kaya Asylum now because you decided to act crazy. Then you got her and Gal Gadot. They're, however you say her name, they're fighting. Because Rachel Zegler, of course, she's a part of the Free Hamas movement. And then you have Gal, who is standing with Israel, and they're beefing low-key. Well, I don't know if they're beefing, but their fans are beefing. So they're getting boycotted from both sides. It's like, this is a movie about a Disney princess who is laying up at somebody's crib waiting to be kissed by a man because an old hag put a curse on her. Why did we have to hear about politics? Okay. And I guarantee if you're going to make it political, at least make someone like Nancy Pelosi be the old wench who made her go to sleep forever, because that's what she's doing with the crackheads in San Francisco. But I digress. All that to say, this movie is tanking. It's actually one of the worst performing live action Disney movies ever. I think the only one that performed worse in its opening week actually ended up being this huge sleeper hit where all these different people ended up coming in later after the fact. But I don't see that happening with the Snow White movie because the critics are hating it, the fans are hating it, the kids are hating it, and everyone hates it. And maybe people wouldn't have been so averse to it if it wasn't for the fact that it's so much woke PR around it, and the movie itself became so woke unnecessarily. It's like, just if you're gonna be so woke, just create a new story. Just create a new dialogue. Why go and ruin something that was a gem in the past because you want to make it to new standards? Oh, you can tell that the movie is made in 1973. Girl, shut up. It's that conversation. 1937. Being woke is so 1937. Like, get out of my face with this low quality, ghetto, broke down, woke activism, you insufferable feminist liberal hag. Moving on along. Last thing I want to talk about, because we're going a little over on time because I am vented today, child. I want to talk about this viral morning routine that is breaking the internet. This video has over 800 million views on Twitter alone. It is literally insane how viral this video is. So Ashton Hall is this former D1 running back turned influencer. He has over 9 million followers on Instagram, over 4 million on TikTok, over 3 million on YouTube. He's huge. I don't know if I had ever heard of him before. I think I've seen him before, but he is blowing up because of the insanity of his morning routines. And he's been doing this for a while, which I don't know of a lot of guys who do these thorough morning routines, but it's like worse than American Psycho. And it is actually, I really tried to give it the benefit of the doubt. And I want you to give it the benefit of the doubt. So I'm going to let you guys watch this full morning routine. And then I just got to break this down play by play a little bit.
Business.
Oh my God. All this before 6 a.m. is crazy. I've been writing it. I wonder how much you have to pay that guy to bring this out. I have so much to say.
So looking at it, bro, we got to go ahead and get in at least 10,000. Thank you.
And the fact that this wasn't even an ad for that water is crazy. Okay, I wanted y'all to see that because I have some thoughts. But before I get into my thoughts, because everybody is roasting this online, if you want to see some of the best memes that we have seen in a while, go on Twitter and just search morning routine. Everybody's reenacting this. Everybody is doing their thing with this. I saw even Drake posted on his story, basically showing that he had to get locked in. He posted a shopping cart with these waters and just a whole bunch of bananas. And it was so funny because I was at the grocery store last night and I saw these waters and I was so close to buying the water and the bananas because he's generated they say he's generated over $2 million in revenue for that water company already because he kept drinking that water. But before I even get to dragging this man, can I be honest? Some of you really don't have room to talk about his morning routine being over the top because some of you are bums hating on a man for having structure in his life and an apartment that you can't afford. If we're going to be honest, if it's a safe space. Now, again, I tried to give it the benefit of the doubt. This morning routine, disgusting. Okay, this is just disgusting doing the most because I know good and well he's not doing that. He just spent 3 hours doing absolutely nothing and tried to make it seem like he was really eating us up. Okay, which he's in his bag. He is in his bag. He's in great shape. He's successful. He's famous. He's doing his thing. But this morning, a lie from the pit of hell. You cannot convince me that this is really what that man is doing in his day to day. Okay, and maybe he is, and maybe that's why he's living the life that most of us can't access. You know, because I'm a firm believer is I don't think influencers should necessarily all be relatable. Sometimes you should be inaccessible. Okay, I like an inaccessible influencer. Unpopular opinion, hot take. That's why, like, growing up watching the Kardashians, I was like, wow, that is insane. That is an insane amount of options that you have. So I want to work hard to at least get a fraction of what you're doing. And you know what? I feel like some of you bums, some of you are too big backed and too broke to be hating on what he's doing. And I feel like if you implemented some of what he's doing in his day to day, maybe you would live a better life too. Now, all that to say, all that niceness to say, I do have to drag this man. I do. Let's go back and just play by play this really quick. So you got 3:52 a.m. when this man is waking up and goes into his bathroom. Okay, pause. I'm tired of this mouth tape mess. I'm tired of this. I have heard of so many people telling me about this mouth tape and swearing by it. And you know what? I should have knocked it till I tried because I do some really frou-frou, like really weird wellness things. But the mouth tape, I just, in the name of this, it's just giving sociopathic. And I feel like you're begging to be kidnapped and then you can't even scream with this mouth tape. So I'm already thrown by this being his 3:52 a.m. And you know, you always have to acknowledge with these kind of videos, you really set up a camera, went back in position and did this. You always got to acknowledge that. Okay, so let's keep it going. Take this mouth tape off. Brushing his teeth with the Saratoga water. Okay, I know that's right. He said, let me go outside and do some push-ups on my balcony real quick. Pause. He said, not the 4:17 a.m. twerk session. Not him twerking. Not him posing like Nicki Minaj in the Anaconda cover. Not PG-13. Well, I guess PG-13 technically. If you go look at that cover, why was he twerking at 4:17 a.m. on his balcony by himself? Let's keep going. Okay. Pause. Bro, why are you on the first page? If this is your daily Dear Diary, why are you on the first page? A lie. Y'all remember, okay, if you're in my age demographic, you remember that SpongeBob scene where he was pushing that pen like Nicki Minaj in the middle of the night, and then you see them turn the page around, and it's just the word the with the most extravagant T, and that's all he spent his hours doing. That's what this is. That's why I call this the Procrastination Olympics. Because, sir, you were on page 1. You are on page 1. Who are you fooling? Because I would like to know what you wrote down. I would like to know. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Let's keep it going.
So we're going to be serious about the Lord's business.
Serious about the Lord's business. Amen to that. He said, let me go ahead and put my face in this ice water real quick, child. Okay, shout out to the neoprene sleeves, though. Those do wonders. Ain't gonna cap. I'm looking at my play-by-play breakdown. I have this. I forgot to say 5:30 a.m. He really said, let me take a minute to move my book and stand up. The memes of this part alone are just phenomenal. Took a whole minute of him to dive into that water, by the way. The timestamps of this are crazy, too. If you go back and watch this closely and see all the timestamps, insane. Just absolutely insane. Let's keep going. Pause. Shout out to the man who was shout out to the people, as someone who makes content in public sometimes, shout out to the people who are minding their business, but they're willing to do a small thing to help you make a video hit. Because I know that was an awkward conversation of him going up to that staffer and be like, hey, can you please hand me a towel and act casual? I know that was an awkward dynamic, but he did what he had to do. So shout out to him. Let's keep going. 8 a.m. man hasn't even gotten to his workday yet, and showering with the watch on. Okay, let's acknowledge that. Let's go back real quick. He said, let's go back to that banana part. I need to see him eat this banana. Okay, what was that? Who the hell eats a banana like that? What kind of sociopath eats a banana like that? Is this to not look sus? Is this for him to like, this gives a case for toxic masculinity. He said, I ain't gonna bite into this banana and look zesty. He said, let me break this banana off and eat it with my hands like a monkey chow. That's what he just said. And I'm not saying that to be racist. I'm black too, so don't come for me. But he is eating this like a monkey. Why are you eating this banana with your hands? And then right when that pissed me off, right when I thought that this couldn't get any more low down and dirty, then look, he gets done eating this banana and look. Sir, a banana peel on your face is insane. I do some crazy stuff for my skincare. I do some crazy stuff for wellness. But why are you rubbing this pure potassium peel on your skin? Maybe it's working because his skin is tea. His skin is clear. So I can only hate so much. Again, all the criticism I'm giving, I can only hate so much because he's probably wealthier than me. He's in better shape than me. And his skin is pretty damn clear. So I can only hate so much, but I'm still gonna talk mess because that's what I do. And what I don't do is rub a banana peel on my face. This man is about to stress me out. This man has washed his face so many times. What is going on? What is going on? All this man does is dip his face in this water. What is in this water? This water is his fountain of youth. Has he had coffee? Is that how he wakes himself up? And then, okay, this part is what really took me out. This was the part where I was just weak in the knees.
So looking at it, bro, we got to go ahead and get in at least 10,000.
10,000 what? Looking at it, bro, we got to get at least 10,000. Me when I got to hype myself up. Me when there's nobody there to gas me up. And I said, we got to get at least 10,000. 10,000 what? And to whom are you speaking? Sir. Looking at that, we got to get at least 10,000. You know what? Maybe it's Bitcoin and he's in his bag and that's his way of letting us know we're broke. Let's go.
Thank you.
See, I can't with the water. I can't with the water. And again, I could only hate so much because apparently I'm a person of poverty because I don't have some indentured white woman making me breakfast. Okay, shout out to the white women in people's home making them breakfast. I don't have that in my home making me breakfast. So I can only hate so much on this morning routine. And maybe it's because I don't drink enough of this blue, I think it's called Saratoga water. Shout out to Saratoga water. And you better pay this man. You better pay this man. Let's keep going. Oh, that's it? That's it. Okay, last thing I'm gonna say, this show is way over on time and I need to go to bed. This is a mess. The part that is frying me is they are eating him up online about this video. Everybody is just roasting him. Again, the most chef's kiss quality memes I have seen in a very long time. And everybody's reenacting it. Like I saw Duolingo Owl jumped on it. I saw Sprite even made a meme making fun of him, basically saying that you got to dip your face into some Sprite, which is the wildest thing that I've seen in a while. All these different things going on and all these different people doing their own morning routines that are over the top, out of satire. And this man is so just lacking self-awareness and takes himself so seriously. He made a video talking about how all these people are trying to be in his cookbook and steal his thunder and steal his routine and trying to be like him and basically saying like, oh, I'm flattered that they're trying to be like me because that's the point, but they're all stealing my style. Sir, they are not laughing with you. They're laughing at you. Unfortunately, you are the clown. But that being said, you are a big buff, clear skin, wealthy and affluent and well-hydrated clown. But so is Pennywise from It. And that's all I got to say about that. Now watch him comment on this to be like, get your money up, not your funny up. You got to get at least 10,000 before you can talk about me. Anyways, child, that is all for today's show. Thank you for tuning in for another one of my hot mess shows. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We are growing so quickly because of you guys sharing the show, so please continue to do so. Head over to PragerU.com where we have so many cool shows and educational content. I know Tom McDonald's. Shout out to Tom McDonald. You guys loved that interview. One of the coolest people I've ever got to sit down with. He has a new music video dropping this Friday, by the way. Make sure you tune into that. You're going to see a lot of really special guests on that. But his Stories of Us just came out, and it is a very, very deep, interesting story. So be sure to go over to PragerU.com, check out all of our content, and be sure to be back on Thursday. I am going out to Miami. I'll be out there in Miami this week. So we are going to be showing you guys an interview live streaming on, regular time and everything of one of my new closest friends, the one and only Anna Marie Wiley from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Her story is so interesting. There is so much tea being spilled. So you guys are not going to want to miss that interview. So turn on notifications. Be sure to be here in the live chat, 'cause it's still going to be popping, and I'm going to be tuned in from Miami. Okay. So I will talk to you guys soon. I'm out.